The time has come. AMD has revealed the 9070 and 9070 XT graphics cards, and they look pretty good. So in my last video, we looked at some of the performance and price leaks. Performance did look pretty good, but the price did not. It looked to be NVIDIA minus $50 again, but luckily AMD has come to their senses and not done that. So the price for the 9070 XT here is going to be $599, which is actually what I said in my last video that it should be. I said $499 for the 9070 and $599 for the 9070 XT. And we'll get to the 9070 in just a moment. But first, let's look at the 9070 XT since that's the most exciting one. So looking at the specs here, we got 64 compute units, about 3 gigahertz boost frequency, 2.4, I'm assuming game means base. 64 ray accelerators, great to see. There's going to be a huge jump in RT, and I'll get to that in a moment. Some stuff I don't know or don't care about. 128 ROPS, which is less than the 5070 Ti's, I believe 176, but we'll look at the specs in just a second. And then 53.9 billion transistors, 304 watts, which is actually pretty damn good for these modern cards. As you know, they're going up and up in wattage, so it's nice to see that it's not too high. They're also not using the 12 volt high power. They're using the normal 8-pin connectors, so hopefully they won't melt. The recommended PSU is a 750 watt, and luckily that's what I have, so I will probably be buying this. And then for the memory, it's what we looked at last time, so 16 gigabytes GDDR6, 256-bit bus, and up to 200, I said this last time, 640 gigabytes per second. So yeah, it looks pretty good. Let's look at the 5070 real quick. So it has 16 gigabytes of GDDR7 on a 256-bit bus, again what we looked at last time. Which does make it a lot faster. It doesn't have the number here. It does have it right here though. So 896 gigabytes per second. So big difference in memory bandwidth, but as we'll see, it doesn't make that huge of a difference. And they don't have the total board power on here, do they? Oh, they do. Okay, it's 300. So okay, it's a little bit more than the 9070 XT is a little bit more than the 5070 Ti. However, NVIDIA has been known for a lot more fluctuation in and like power spikes. So maybe it will on average be less. So we'll see. But let's get to performance. So at 1440p, it is about 30 to maybe 40% better than the 7900 GRE. Again, this is a 16 gigabyte card. That's why they compared it here. And it was $549 at launch. So pretty close in price as well. Raster looks pretty good, but RT is even better. So we're looking at 40 to even 60% better RT performance, and that's because of the huge architectural changes that they made, and we will get to that. But yeah, it's looking real good. Overall, about 30% better performance. Again, if you don't care about RT, it's more like 30. Still really good. And Cyberpunk specifically is 64% better performance, so that's great news. I'm gonna be very excited to see how that performs, as that is kind of my my benchmark, my guinea pig for all that kind of stuff. So onto the 4K. It's about the same uplift, about 30 to 40% here, and about 50 to 60 here. So yeah, I mean, about the same performance uplift. It's good to see that it's not it doesn't scale badly. Wow. It doesn't scale bad when it comes to resolution, so that's good to see. And now on to the 9070, like I said, 549. 56 compute units, so that's down from 64. Um, Only 2.5 gigahertz, so about a 3 to 400 megahertz difference. Um, Ray accelerators, same as compute units, down from 64. Same amount of transistors, however, and 220 watts, which is great. I don't know, is the 5070s here? Probably. 250. So yeah, it's actually less than the 5070, and we'll see how that translates to performance, as the 5070 has not launched yet, so I don't really know. Um, 16 gigabytes of RAM, GDDR6, 256-bit bus, 640 gigabytes per second. Same thing there. I'm getting scammed on Steam right now. Um, but yeah, so the memory is not cut down at all, which is really great to see. Of course, the 5070 only has 12 gigabytes of VRAM. Where is that at? Oh, and a 192-bit bus. So it probably has a higher bandwidth. Um, let's see here. Yeah, it still has a higher bandwidth, but it's pretty close actually. But you're getting 16 whole gigabytes. Shut up! Oh my god. You're getting 16 whole gigabytes versus the 12, bigger bus width. So that's really great to see that AMD is not skimping out on that part. They are skimping on the price, and I'll get to that. So let's look at performance. It's about 20-ish% better at 1440p in raster, and then in RT about 25 to 30% better. So that translates to about 20% overall. For the same price of card and only like 20% improvement, it's not super exciting. Um, 50 or $100 more would probably yield better results in I'd say sales, but in general, that would be a lot more exciting. And then at 4K, you're seeing about 21, so pretty close here. And like I said, it's good to see that the scaling here is good, that it scales well. And then let's see 9070 XT versus 5070 Ti. So this is 4K ultra settings. We're looking at about the same performance. We're probably going to see it trade blows. Maybe the 5070 Ti will be a little bit better. I mean, they're even saying minus 2%, but that probably comes mostly from the RT. Overall, they're probably going to be pretty similar in performance when it comes to raster. And RT, of course, it's going to be worse because AMD has always been lagging behind when it comes to RT. Cyberpunk is not looking good. Only 81% of the performance of the 5070 Ti. But the price is the big thing, right? So MSRP for the 5070 Ti is supposed to be $749 versus the 9070 XT, which is $599. Also, this is not a real card. This is just a render. It would be really cool if it was a real card, though. Oh yeah, here you go. Artist rendering, not for sale. But for the MSRP comparisons, I mean, this is huge. So if we do the math here, it's about 20% better minus so they actually say 20% better value, but minus the actual like 2% from here, you're getting about 18% better value. 18% better value between these cards. And it's not that far off. I mean, in performance, obviously RT is not as good. But for raster, I mean, it's not that far off. It's great that AMD has stuck to the like mid-range for this generation because they are coming on real strong here. But obviously we know that the 5070 Ti isn't actually $749. It's more like $9 or $899, $900. So taking that into account, it's more like a what numbers are these? Oh yeah, this is for the okay, minus 2% here. So it's about 33% better. Oh, hold on. I'll explain why this was like this, but it's about 31% better value if we're looking at AMD's or the 9070 XT's actual MSRP versus the 5070 Ti's actual price. Um, so it'll probably be higher for the 9070 XT. Hopefully Micro Center doesn't, or well, I guess it isn't Micro Center's fault. Hopefully the third-party vendors don't hike up the price like they did with the 5070 Ti. Really hoping that they don't. But yeah, so you're looking at about 31% battery value. Now, the reason that those numbers were screwed up is because there's an OC version of the 9070 XT, and compared to the normal, I guess, base clock, or not base clock, but the non-overclocked version of the 5070 Ti, we're looking at about 2% better performance. Again, game by game basis. They're probably going to trade blows here, and RT looks a bit better as well. But this is definitely going to be a much more expensive card. I would imagine $100, maybe even $150 more expensive for worse performance and worse features. So personally, I would not go with the OC version unless it's unless it's still cheaper than the 5070 Ti's MSRP of $750. Yeah, so the reason this was all screwed up is plus 4% because this was, let's see, -2 here and +2 here. So if we're looking at actual price of, or like, honestly, this number doesn't make any sense because it's the OC version is not going to be $599. So if it was, then this would be about the performance, or I mean the value gain would be about 35%, but it's not going to be. So yeah, disregard that, I guess. So there have been some architectural changes. I will link AMD's video for all this in the description if you would like to have a more detailed explanation. Not that it's very detailed, but there's a higher memory request bandwidth versus RDNA 3, and that's using this stuff right here. And then we have some ray accelerators, and we will get to that in just a second. They also have the scalar units, which, I don't know, they do something. But overall, we've seen that the performance uplift is quite a lot from all of that stuff. So very exciting to see. Let's get to the ray tracing. This is where they have where AMD has made the biggest strides. I almost said hugest. And in fact, it's the biggest RT jump that they have made yet. So before in the 7000 and maybe 6000 series of cards, they had these intersection engines, which do something called bounding volume hierarchy. And this has been improved by using oriented bounding boxes. And oriented bounding boxes are basically when a ray is shot, like a ray of light, it goes into a box. So let's imagine that this is the box. So it goes into a box, and then it is there's smaller boxes inside that box. So then the ray goes into this smaller box, and it goes smaller and smaller and smaller until we can until you can get a an accurate like position of where the ray hits and how that interacts with other things around it. So NVIDIA has done this, I think it was with the 40 series, and AMD has now added it to its cards, I guess. But not only that, they also have better data compression. So there's going to be a lot more throughput, and that translates to more frame rate. But yeah, so they have another intersection engine, and so that means maybe 2%, or sorry, double, 2 times the performance. Theoretically, we'll see how that actually plays out, but theoretically, about double the RT performance. And then this ray transformer is actually what handles these oriented bounding boxes at the lower levels. So these smaller boxes, that's what the ray transformer handles, which again, better FPS. So really, really nice to see that, the RT gains. And then we also have FSR4. So FSR 2 and 3.1 have always kind of been lackluster. I've never been a big fan of them, and the implementation was not too great in like Cyberpunk, for example. But FSR 4 looks great. We saw it as CES 2025, but now we get to see it here. So um, over FSR 3.1, it is a huge improvement. It looks more like anti-aliasing versus actually like upscaling because, I mean, FSR 3.1, you're losing so much detail. This is really blurry. There's just missing stuff here. And FSR 4 solves that with actual detail. And even compared to native, I mean, it just looks like a slightly softer image. And in fact, it kind of acts as an anti-aliaser because you can see there's lost detail here, but it's there in FSR 4. And this is the performance mode at 4K. So this is worst case scenario at 4K. At 1440p and 1080p, it won't scale this good since this is scaling 1080p to 4K. But yeah, I mean, this is still a huge improvement over FSR 3. And for anyone using like 1440p monitors or 1080p monitors, probably want to stick to quality or balance. Personally, I'll probably do balance, but we'll see. And here's some more examples. So this is native, and I'm assuming this is 4K performance mode. They don't actually say it, but probably. You're getting about 3 times the performance, which is great. Also, it takes a blurry image like this from Black Ops 6 and makes it sharper. It doesn't actually add detail, of course, but it does make the whole image just look a bit sharper if you look closely. I don't know why they use Black Ops 6, because you're not going to look that close, but for Ratchet and Clank, again, it takes an kind of noisy, gross image and just kind of smooths it out a bit. Again, it's acting more of like an anti-alias here than even an upscaler, but huge performance gain as well here. And then I don't know why I put this example in here because there's not much to look at here other than the performance gain. And then this graph is kind of like the 4090 versus 5070 graph that NVIDIA put up. So it's kind of misleading because it's the 7900 GRE native versus the 9070 XT with FSR 4 performance mode. So of course it's going to be a huge jump in performance, but that's not indicative of actual raster and RT performance, which is again more like this. So this is pretty misleading, but it's, you know, it's worth mentioning, I guess, that FSR 4 is definitely viable at this point, with how much better it looks and the performance gain. But yeah, it is misleading. It's like the 4090 versus 5070 thing. Anyway, FSR 4 will be available in 30 games at launch and 75 more coming later this year. So the thing is, Cyberpunk is not on this, which is actually quite surprising to me, as Cyberpunk has always been kind of the guinea pig for new NVIDIA and AMD features like FSR and path tracing. Well, I guess that's not really a NVIDIA feature, but the point is, it's always been kind of a guinea pig for them, and it's not here for FSR, although it was for DLSS, I believe. So that's kind of disappointing to see. Hopefully, they will actually bring FSR 4 to, or at least 3.1 to Cyberpunk so that we can experience that. But yeah, altogether, it looks great. I'm really proud of AMD for not making the price stupid. But we'll see how the third-party vendors end up pricing it themselves, as we know what happened with the 50 series. Absolutely atrocious. So hopefully we don't get that same problem. But yeah, it looks great. The price is great. I will probably be getting one, so if you guys want to see some benchmark videos, let me know in the comments. And yeah, I'll see you guys for the next update video on this on these graphics cards.